Hello, my name is Christian Jablonski. I'm a carpenter helper with DEW Construction out of Williston, Vermont. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a idea that I came up with, which is a project to solve an issue that we're having within our company. Let's go through the slides. So the project is forklift and equipment rental for DEW. Today we're going to be talking about why we need this project, a little bit about the project description, the budget that the project will entail, and some finishing points as well as a questionnaire at the end. Main thing, why do we need this? So the symptoms that I noted in the project can be remedied by implementing this plan that I'm going to go over shortly. The main issues that we're facing are company professionalism, physical strains on employees, and company loss of time and money. For company professionalism, I feel that and a lot of times in the field we don't have our own equipment and we need to borrow somebody else's equipment, which for a billion-dollar company doesn't make us look as professional as we should be, having to go and borrow from a subcontractor for some equipment that we should have on hand or be expecting to use is unprofessional. Just some points on screen here. The Department of Labor defines professionalism as communicating effectively and appropriately and always finding a way to be productive. I feel like waiting around and asking to borrow equipment from other companies is not a means of being productive at all. Next slide. So a big thing that I've noticed in particular, because I do a lot of laborious tasks, is the physical strain that's put on labor employees in the field, carpenters and foremen alike. So we see, like, for example, a pile of material that needs to be moved. Instead of simply having a forklift on hand, somebody that's certified to use it, we have to move it by hand, one piece at a time. It takes 10 times longer than it should. And this can lead to other factors as well, as well as, tiring out your employees. It can lead to stress, physical stress, overexertion, and workplace injuries, which can inflict some physical tolls as well as the morale of your employees. They're less likely to actually be willing to work for a company that's putting them through ridiculous situations like not having equipment on hand. The next slide is the loss of company time and money. I feel like this slide in particular is going to really hit home with the higher-ups of this company. I hope it does, because it really is unfortunate that we're a for-profit company. We're trying to make money, but it seems like we're losing a lot of time and money in people trying to do something without the equipment that they're provided. With proper equipment, there's no doubt in my mind that any trained professional could do 10 times the workload that a labor employee is trying to do with no tools or guidance whatsoever. Just from the slide we have here, from Harvard this year, they reported that 78% of employees experience some kind of idle time. If that goes back to having to borrow equipment or not having the equipment ready or on hand, then you have to wait or try and figure out the best way to actually get your task done in time, which can be pretty difficult. So the main point is the company is less efficient and less profitable if its employees are sitting around waiting. because management wasn't able to figure out what needed to be done or what needed to be accessed for the task. So for the project description, what exactly am I trying to ask for here? I'm not trying to ask for a lot. I'm really just looking for the pre-construction phase to look into and try and implement more rental equipment into our bid phase, so that way it can be utilized throughout the project, and we're not stuck without having equipment when we should. So I'd like us to review our procedures and go forth from there. Some of the equipment that I'm familiar with, and most people in the field, in the industry, are familiar with, is we have a boom lift here. I was trained on that. It's super easy to use. It may look intimidating, but it's super easy to use, and once you have a grasp of it and you're certified, it makes work that is elevated beyond step ladder's reach much easier and much faster and much more efficient. Here we have what we call a lull, which is it's a forklift with a boom that can extend out, and it can lift up. It can move pretty much whatever you need to on the site. It's a heavy machinery type of equipment. I've had a few hours on this. Again, with some training and certifications, it's super easy to use. Here we have a scissor lift. It's one of those situations again. They have indoor, outdoor scissor lifts. It's super easy to use. It requires very little training, and if you're in a situation where you need to do a lot of work at higher heights, it can make the work much more efficient instead of going on and off a ladder repeatedly, and that can help with fatigue of your employees. It can increase the productivity that you're going to see, and it's just a much more safer and much more efficient way to get the job done. This here we have a skid steer. That's pretty common for the site work, but instead of just having it just for the site work, if you're in a small space area and you need to move material around, it's also really handy to have around for that. Here we have a mini excavator. I've been in situations where we don't have this type of equipment on hand or available, and I've had to shovel my way out of some situations for the good part of a few hours, which this can way outdig any man can with a shovel. So it's just another one of those situations where if you had the equipment on hand, it would have been an easy task, but without the equipment, it becomes a quite time-taking task itself. And this we had the experience of using just recently on one of our job sites. We had a smaller, not industrial version that kept breaking down. It wasn't the right type of equipment for what we needed, so we purchased or rented this from it was from New Hampshire here, and it came up and it did a fantastic job. It's a floor buffer, so it really buffed out the floors from all the construction debris and made the floors look newer and pop like they should, so that way we get a better result and our owner is happy with the floors that we've made. The forklift that I talked about earlier, indoor forklift, it makes moving pallets so much faster and so much easier, especially when you gotta stack them or put them overhead. It makes moving material 10 times faster instead of trying to do it by hand. And then the big guy over here, crane, that is really common in the construction industry to use a crane to move material up and off a roof or putting up structural steel or not. And in a lot of cases, it's impossible to do a job without a crane if the building's big enough. So why we need this project is because it's really here to fix some of the needs that I went over. Uh, so the big thing is that I have an issue is we don't need to borrow equipment anymore, or wait to use equipment that takes up a lot of time. Uh, here in here at the job site that I'm on now, we need to sometimes borrow a scissor lift to use as an elevator to go up to the 4th floor or the 5th floor with material, and that scissor lift is currently owned by SDI, which is a subcontractor of ours. So us not having the equipment and having to wait for them to use it or wait to borrow it really takes a lot of time out of the field employee's day. Uh, so with getting more rental equipment onto the site itself, I'd like to see more certifications being trained and passed down to the field employees, so that way once we have the equipment, we actually have the personnel with the training and knowledge they need to use the equipment. Because even if you have the equipment, if only one person on the job site is actually able to use the equipment, you're pretty much stuck in the same situation where you have to wait for that person to be available. And once we implement this project, I expect greater productivity results from DEW's work, which we're looking to more self-perform these upcoming years. We're looking to stop contracting out more of our work and start self-performing more. The budget. Budget. This is the best part about the project, is the budget. Once we internalize and review the plan that I'm suggesting, then we can pretty much, it's all internal. There's no outside sourcing. We're not hiring anybody for this or anything. The budget is up to the owner, and in the pre-construction phase, our engineers are going to look over what they need for the project. They're going to try and implement more rental equipment into the project if it is required to do the job and make the job more efficient. But at the end of the day, if the owner doesn't want the equipment on the site or doesn't want to rent the equipment, that's up to him. So because he is paying for the bid and for the he's paying for the project itself. So if the owner doesn't want it, that's okay. But we are going to suggest and show why we believe that the equipment is going to be more valuable and save more money for the owner and do a better job. Okay, to wrap up, what I would like this project to do in a nutshell is I would like DW to be more professional. I would like them to take the consideration of the field employees' welfare and morale, and really think about that, how the equipment is going to help us out. And that in turn should improve our time management within the company. Here are some references that I used throughout the report and throughout the PowerPoint. And for the end here, I have questions. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to email me. Or thank you.